Okay. Looks good. Oh, wait, let me move that. All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going out there? Sorry, this is my first time streaming on my laptop, so I'm using some new software. I think that we are good to go, though. If it sounds good and you guys can see us on the screen, let me know, please. Yeah, see how there's a delay? Like it's not showing us. Yeah. What happened here? Oh, wow. It like zoomed in on us. What the heck?
Yeah, it's super zoomed.
Gosh darn it. I don't even know how that happened. I'm so sorry, you guys. Let me move this computer back in. Just do that. All right, here we are. Hey, everybody. Sorry for a little technical difficulties, but here I am. This is Jared Smith. You guys might know him.
How's it going?
Yeah. So we're two farmers. We farm in San Diego, California, and we got our start farming together over 8 years ago.
I think it was like 9 years ago now.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
8 or 9 years ago.
8 or 9 years ago. And so yeah, today we're just going to sit down with you guys and talk all about regenerative agriculture, a lot of the different techniques that we're using. We just want to answer your guys' questions. If you're getting into farming, if you're just a gardener, if you're already a seasoned farmer, just wants to incorporate more of these biological techniques. That's what we're going to talk about today, soil health, kind of nerd out. And also talk about our upcoming workshop too.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a all-day intensive workshop in partnership with the no-till growers. And so that'll be February 15th in San Diego. We're going to be breaking down both of each of our individual systems.
That's right.
Yeah, so his larger scale, he's up to 3 acres on 2 different plots now, right?
Yeah.
Almost 3 acres, or 2.5?
Yeah, 2 different locations. I don't know the technical grow size, but yeah, it's like over probably 2.5 acres of market garden going on.
Mm-hmm.
And more large scale. And then Stephen will be talking more about backyard or micro.
Small scale, yeah, like just thinking about it more from a different perspective, being on a real small scale. There's certain crops you should and shouldn't grow when you're at that size. Different techniques you might want to use when breaking ground and changing over beds, all that sort of stuff. And Jared does 4-foot beds. I do 30-inch beds. So you'll be able to see 2 different bed management systems, which I think is super valuable.
For sure.
Especially I've seen more and more talk from like the leading market gardeners out there that they keep moving beyond the 30-inch bed. A 3-foot bed, a 3.5, like a 42-inch bed. I see a lot of people using larger bed systems now for a lot of different reasons, and it's pretty cool. Yeah,
I've noticed that too. It's more open now. It's not just a set 30-inch model necessarily. Mm-hmm. Not that that's wrong, but
it's all about the context.
It just depends on your context and what you're trying to do.
Cool. So I'll tell you guys about the stream today. So we're just going to touch a little bit on our farming story, how we got started. Then we're going to break into a little bit more info on our upcoming workshop, what we'll be teaching you, some of the specific things that we want to show you guys in person and build in person. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then at the end, we're going to do Q&A. So if you guys have any questions about any type of technique about growing food, selling, marketing, anything that has to do with regenerative farming, then we're going to love to help you.
Talking about that.
Yeah, talk about it. We'll give our best answers that we know. If we don't know the answer, we'll hopefully be able to point you in the right direction.
That's right.
All right, so let's see. Hey, what's up, Barefoot Chicken? Hey, Homer. Hey, Alla Blown. Hey, Elijah, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Thanks for joining, everybody. It's good to see everyone. So let's get into a little bit of our story, I guess. Like some of you may know or have seen videos where I've talked about Jared, or maybe you've seen the farm tour and interview that I did with Jared, and you can see that down in the video description. I put a link if you want to go learn more about Jared's farm, everything he has set up. Yeah, I guess how did it all start? It all started. I just remember with you doing IIN, Institute of Integrative Nutrition.
Yeah, that's right.
You started going really deep on nutrition
Yeah.
and gardening, and I was already kind of interested in supplements because my dad was really into that. So I was already not trusting kind of the mainstream medical knowledge and stuff.
Yeah.
And then,
right.
you know, we were best friends. We were talking about this stuff all the time, like about what real health is about and food is medicine and all this. And anyway, yeah, so it started there. And then what happened after that?
Yeah, definitely. The reason I got into farming was mostly due to my grandpa getting cancer, becoming very interested in health, like you were talking about. And I think, I was studying nutrition with the intent of possibly becoming a health coach or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But during that time, starting a garden and just trying to grow food for my family and really just falling in love with it. Like just, to see something go from a seed all the way to something that nourishes our body. I mean, it's miraculous, and it's an amazing thing. Mm-hmm. And I just fell in love with it, and I had the opportunity to start growing at my grandpa's old chicken farm, which is now owned by my uncle. Mm-hmm. And he allowed me to lease out a small little section of land where you actually were super involved. You helped. Initially, we built 25 raised beds in between just a little alleyway in between two of the old chicken buildings. And it's just a long stretch of land, and we put in 25 beds. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was really influenced by like square foot gardening and vertical growing. And we were just trying to max out every square inch of those beds and growing vertically as well to really maximize the area. But had a super good response. Like, starting the business, we really had no idea if people were necessarily into that, if we were going to be able to, have enough demand for, local produce and stuff. But it turns out it seemed like, a ton of people were super stoked on it. Mm-hmm. And we then expanded the farm to a 2-acre lot that's adjacent to the property that the initial 25 beds are built on. And then that's kind of when we, I think, dove more into like Elliot Coleman and
JM's Market Gardener.
JM.
Yeah, I found out about that. Like, whoa, look at these guys, making a lot of money on just an acre or a few acres.
Yeah.
And, what are the techniques that they're using?
Right. Yeah.
And trying to figure that out.
Trying to replicate more of their models.
Mm-hmm. But it was always our approach, I remember, is just we just knew just by observing nature and just in that initial gardening period where we were just in raised beds, we saw the design in nature. We saw that the closer that you stuck to natural systems and that it was better for the plants. They tasted better. They looked better.
Yeah.
All of that.
More healthy.
So we just kind of had, and all farmers know this, or gardeners, when you can tell when a plant is sick or when it needs water or, different things. The more experience you get, you can tell. Mm-hmm. And, but now, now we're 8 years later and we've read a lot of books and listened to a lot of podcasts, watched a lot of videos, done a lot of studying. Now we've studied soil health and soil biology and, no-till has come a long, long way from where it began. And there's so many amazing techniques and ways that market farmers are now doing things that, man, it's crazy when you compare what we're doing now to what we did when we were starting.
Oh, yeah,
it's crazy,
for sure.
like how much it's come along, or just even when we started the Farmer's Friend Greens Cut Harvester didn't exist. Yeah. So doing salad mixes meant you had to do it by hand, which is a lot more labor. So doing things so that it was harder for us to approach those things at that time. We didn't. And then, so a lot of things changed in small scale farming, and there's a lot more tools, a lot more fun inventions and things that make it a lot easier for us. So
For sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely progressed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's so much more information out now and material for people trying to get into farming. It's like like more accessible now than ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Than even from 8 or 9 years ago, which is relatively recent. It's changed quite a bit.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So
yeah, it's a different world now. Now I guess if you guys don't know our story, now we're up to speed. Where and eventually I went and I taught English in Korea for a couple years. I got married, came back, and then eventually I wanted to start my own farm, and being in control of my own farm, my own land, my own design, and every farmer like wants that to go through that process, of like breaking their own ground and doing their own thing. So I don't know, it eventually became time to do that, and that's when I started the small farm in Lemon Grove, and I've done that for the last 3 years, raising chickens, creating most of my nutrients for my market garden. Over the 3 years, I had one plot. I broke into my neighbor's yard, and then I also went into another plot down the road. So managing a couple plots on a small urban scale, and like I said, it's more of the Curtis Stone style of management. Quick turnover, high profit, that type of stuff. But I incorporate in a lot of things. I love experimenting with all these biological techniques, whether it's biochar, bokashi, Korean natural farming, just making compost, teas, all of that stuff. So it's been fun. Just gaining. The more I learn about farming and about this whole world, the more interested I get in it, and so now I'm at the point at the end of my 3rd year now where the farm's very successful, it's been a crazy journey. And Jared's farm, we started on that land. We talked about his uncle's land, and then he recently expanded. Do you want to talk about that?
Right. Yeah, so that was, I think, it's been over a year now, maybe a year and a half or so. I had the opportunity to expand my farm to probably like maybe a mile down the road from my original site, very close. And it's a local dairy that they actually decided to sell most of their cows, but they're very much connected with the community, and they do a lot of field trips out there. They're very into education, working with kids, and they also run a pumpkin patch, very, very successful one. And so it seemed like a really good opportunity to start working with them and to develop a site there. And really, that was with the intent of production for sure, but also for education. So, all the kids that come out there on the field trips, now part of the field trip is they stop at my grow site, and we talk about vegetables and fruit and, where food comes from. And it's just amazing. A lot of the kids have never been to a farm before. It's really cool. Like they pull up they have a little tractor pulled wagon, and it probably holds maybe like 50 to 100 people. And that's what they do the tours in. And when the kids pull up, and they'll do like little samples, they'll pull out maybe some carrots for them.
Oh, cool.
And the whole tour just erupts with like oh my God.
That's fun.
So yeah, it's super cool to be a part of, helping get people reconnected to where food comes from, what real food looks like, and kind of just getting reconnected to reality, because, there's a lot of disconnect there in modern society. At least I think so.
Big time.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that's kind of the intent there. Increased production, but also education.
Right. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting opportunity Jared has.
Yeah.
And he, how much have you developed over there now, you think?
Yeah, so over there,
how many beds?
There's over 30 beds now.
30 beds.
I forget the exact
how long
number.
are you? Forgot.
They're about 65 foot.
60, okay.
Yeah, 65 by 4 feet. So
cool. Yeah, so 30 beds at this new site, 4 foot wide by 65 foot long.
Yeah.
I have to do the math, but
so pretty good sized beds.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like half an acre maybe.
Everything's really good over there as far as the soil.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so this is the site that we're going to be doing the workshop at. And so it's really cool how it all worked out. Now Jared has this amazing site that he's already developed. Doing all of his holistic techniques. He's got hedgerows over there with fruit trees and perennial plantings of herbs and flowers, and really cool stuff that increases his biodiversity. I'm just really excited for this workshop to show you guys, walk around and just really get to see everything in person and put all the theory that you read in books, into real life, and so you can see it right in front of you.
For sure.
That's a little bit about us, our start in farming, kind of where we are now. And then, Homer, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Let's see here. So, okay, we're going to just talk a little bit about our workshop, some of the things we have planned for you guys, and then we're going to go into question and answer. So, if you guys have any questions for us about any topic related to regenerative farming, gardening, whatever, go ahead and write it in the comments section in the chat, and we're going to go back and read through and answer those questions for you guys. Of course, if you super chat, it's so generous of you. We really appreciate it, and we'll, of course, answer your question as much depth as we can. LG, we'll talk about the hedgerows here in a minute once we get into the Q&A. Hey, what's up, Matt? Thanks for modding, man. Alrighty, so the workshop, what do we got planned? What we're trying to accomplish with this thing here? So
well, I think what I'm trying to do is really describe in pretty detail my operation, what's been successful for me, and across the board, as far as planting, seed selection, pest control strategies, how to make beds, how to flip beds. Every detail of the operation.
Interplanting.
And then, my style that's developed over time, very much influenced by holistic practices, permaculture, just trying to really create a balanced site, a very diverse site, and one that was always focused on the health of the soil. So all those techniques that I've developed over the past 8-9 years, and they're not my personal techniques, they're just things that I've seen other people doing successfully and adapted to my situation. So I think it'll be really good for somebody trying to either start a farm, who's trying to do something more large scale, or even just an at-home gardener. I think a lot of the same overall techniques can apply.
Yeah.
And in particular, Stephen will be talking more about small scale backyard too. Or what's your game plan? So.
Because urban, small scale, that's going to be my main focus, and I'm going to let Jared really handle the larger scale talk about stuff and fruit trees and all that stuff. That's his where his experience and expertise is. And I'm going to focus really on kind of the overall approach to soil health, creating your own nutrients, what that looks like, where is that cost effective, where does that make sense to do that, and at what scale. I want to talk a lot of business strategy stuff, crop selection, starting out small and really lean and low cost, how to do that, and then how to grow it. Talking about microgreens and some of the more specific crops that I did really, really well for me on a small scale, like salad mix, heads of lettuce, herbs and microgreens, and beyond that, we're going to be doing a 2-hour field walk at Jared's farm that we've been describing, and so we want to touch on some big things. One of the big things we want to do that day is a demo of building a lasagna style bed. And this is how Jared creates all of his new beds at this new site. And lasagna method, for those who don't know, is just layering carbon and soil, one after another, and it's just a way of adding more organic matter, building up a thicker raised bed more cheaply. You're feeding carbon to soil microbes, and also it's helping to suppress the weeds underneath. So it's like a very powerful technique. He's doing large scale. Well, it's also incredibly good for small scale home garden too, or breaking a new piece of land that has grass on it or whatever. Help you to suppress those weeds initially. So yeah, everything that we're talking about really applies to anybody, any growing method. Like, we might be talking about efficiency and cost savings for a farm and profit, but for a home gardener, that's related to time savings and labor savings. Not getting as much food out of the smallest piece of land that you have as possible with the least amount of work. That's what we always want to be doing as a business, especially, right? So yeah. Showing the building of that, and we're going to build it with a tractor. We'll talk about how you could do it by hand. I know we want to do some demoing of different tools that we use, like an earthway seeder and
wheel
hoe, rakes, basic bed prepping, and like little tips and tricks that we've figured out along the way that speed things up, and preparing the bed in the most efficient way, but also the way that's going to disturb the soil the least, and balancing everything with context too, because one technique we're talking about might work well for Jared's scale, but not work well for mine, and vice versa. So, there's going to be a large aspect, always relating back to like the business side of this thing, and we want to. A farm has to be profitable to be successful and to survive long term. So that's Anyways,
absolutely.
And we of course have to mention. I didn't explain this good enough, but No-Till Growers, the No-Till Market Garden podcast, Jesse Frost and Josh Satin will be there as well. And it's planned for Jesse. He's going to give a short little presentation on a topic, and then we'll also be doing a 1-hour Q&A at the end of our workshop with all three of us, where we're going to talk like real in depth with the audience, questions and everything. And then the other aspect to our workshop I want to mention is the social and networking aspect of it, because we're trying to get together a bunch of farmers from the same region in the SoCal, California, Southwest, let's say, region. And it'll just be a great opportunity to meet other farmers, meet people that you can connect with and bounce ideas off of. We're growing in similar climates, a lot of us, a more dry, arid climate. So there's a lot of things that are unique to us that we can help each other with. So after the event, I think we're going 9 till 5, 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. And then after that, we're going to be going to a brewery, either Stone Brewery or
AleSmith.
AleSmith.
I think, yeah.
So we're going to get to all go out and hang out after all day learning together. We're all going to go out and hang out, get some food, just relax. So that'll be really fun. I'm looking forward to that also.
That might be the best part of the day. It's just being able to talk to everybody. It
is. I went to the Kentucky, Till Growers event, and that was one of the favorite thing for all the people there too, is that we're always so busy farming or with our family and doing that. Like we rarely get to hang out with other farmers or people who understand growing food at this level. So it's really, really fun to talk shop and just make more friends that you can reach out to and say, hey, like I'm having this problem.
Yeah.
Do you know what to do? So anyways, we're very excited about this workshop. If you guys are interested in coming to the workshop on February 15th, there's the first link down in the description is the link to the No-Till Growers website, where you can buy the ticket and find out more information. And just there's a whole readout of everything that's going to be going on. Also check out Jared's farm tour that I made. The video is down in the description as well, if you want to see all the amazing stuff that Jared does. All right, so now let's move on to Q&A. And if you guys have any questions about anything, we will answer it. So I'm going to just scroll up here and see what's going on. Hope everybody's having a great night. All right, we got Matt drag strip farm with the first question here. When preparing a new bed, what would be your go-to amendments?
Yeah, that's a good
First.
question.
There's many answers to this.
Yeah.
There's no one answer to this, I think.
Yeah, there's probably not a one answer fits all. It probably really depends on your area
Hey, Stivers.
and what access to material you
Yeah,
have.
that's a really good point.
What you can get cheaply, what's more expensive, and maybe avoid that. For me, I've had really good access to stable bedding, so a lot of straw, a lot of leaves, and just compost, aged composted manure, and that's pretty much the main three things I build my beds with. But
Nice.
at this point, it's mostly just straw and compost layers.
Yeah.
That's
So Jared's basically 100% compost-based farming system.
Yeah.
And Ben Hartman, the lean farmer, he also does a 100% compost-based system. And look at their crops; they're incredible. So there's so many ways to get nutrition and soil biology into your soil.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways to do it. And the more I learn about this stuff and other organic techniques that people are using, whether it be biodynamic or Korean natural farming or whatever it is, or Elaine Ingham, we're all attempting to do the same thing of bringing that natural fertility and biology to the soil to let them do most of the work.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's different ways of achieving it. I think Jared's tip of what is your local area like, because for us in San Diego, we can get really high quality compost for $35 a yard, which is kind of that's basically the average price that you'll find. I think you shouldn't be paying much more than that. If you're buying in bulk, you shouldn't be paying more than $35 a yard. Now, when I went to Tennessee, in the South, even in Kentucky too, they have a problem with finding good compost. There's only a couple compost makers, and if you want it delivered, it might be a 3-hour drive.
Oh wow!
So we're talking major expense to get it there.
Yeah.
I heard prices as high as like $60 or $70 a yard for just compost.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
So I don't know. So in that case, now we're talking. Maybe there's a different way you want to do it. Maybe now you want to use cover crops. Maybe you want to use animal rotational grazing to achieve some fertility. Maybe you want to use Korean natural farming to create your microbes, and you want to feed your plants more foliarly. You could do it that way. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it, but
yeah.
I guess to break it all down, though, I mean, compost is my favorite amendment of all time.
Yeah.
If I have to choose one or something.
Yeah, that is for me too. Compost is the key.
This is a good one. Raised beds. Raised beds with wood. Old method. Is there any point? It's a good context question.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for certain situations. Definitely more of probably a small scale setup. If you're doing a large farm, you wouldn't want to build.
Yeah, it's too much infrastructure.
Yeah, it'd be too much money. It wouldn't make sense to make a bunch of beds.
And you can't run a machine with raised beds. And the larger you go in scale, then you start possibly needing machines or a BCS, walk behind tractor, or things like that. And I see raised beds or whatever you want to use, whether it's like the plexiglass stuff or the fiberglass, whatever it is, metal, concrete. It's perfect for a home garden or a homestead, things like that, I think. But if you're going profit and you want to make money growing food, then in the ground, creating the fertility naturally in that soil is going to be your best bet. And to me, the smartest strategy, if you want to get a farm going quick or a garden going quick and growing immediately, is just buy really high quality compost, put it on the ground, and put seeds in there and water. And
literally,
that's basically all you need to do.
Yeah.
But it has to be really high quality compost, and that's something that your municipality may say they make compost, but it's probably not actually compost. How do you get healthy soil? The garden stores? Probably not the garden store. The best way to get healthy soil is to help the soil along by good growing practices. Whether that's bringing in good organic matter, whether that be not tilling the soil. When we're tilling the soil, we're mixing soil layers, we're destroying fungal connections, we're messing up the marketplace down there, basically, and the plants aren't able to communicate with the microbes to get the food they need. So, let's see here. Hey, Maurice. Yeah, we're excited to see you at the no-till event, man. It's going to be really fun.
Nice.
Elijah. Yeah, man, compost and vermicompost is the best. Vermicompost is, if you need like a fertilizer, like a real concentrated amendment, that's the best. Best fertilizer made by nature. Here we go. For someone just starting out with about a 1/4 acre full sun garden area, what would be the most profitable crop to start with? That's a good question. Thank you, Barefoot Chickens. That's a fun name too.
I would say probably it'd have to be like baby greens.
And microgreens.
Microgreens.
Baby greens and microgreens. And depends on your area too, I would say. What is your market willing to pay for things? Like certain areas, the direct to customer is better. Like at a farmer's market, you can get way better prices and sell a lot more. Sometimes like you might be too far from markets, and so a CSA or selling to a restaurant might make more sense. And like they're gonna want different crops.
That's true.
Based upon like who the customer is. So, but like in general, in general, heads of lettuce. Yeah. You can get $3 or $4 for a head of lettuce in most of the country, I'd say, from what I've seen. Baby greens, your arugulas, your spinach is extremely good. $10, $12 a pound for spinach.
For the summertime, probably tomatoes, cucumbers. Yeah, they're pretty profitable.
Basil's a good one.
Basil.
Those are like the most. Yeah, I don't know. Root crops are awesome. Like carrots, you can never grow enough carrots.
Yeah, that's my problem. I can't.
It's so popular, enough. And those are $3 to $4 a pound. So like they work out really well. Beets have been really good for me. I love how they grow. I love how a beet can just sit in the ground like an extra month and be fine and still taste good. And so I love harvesting those like on a long, like overseeding the beets and just harvesting them over like a month period. And I don't know. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Agriculture. Greg. Hey, Greg. What's going on, buddy? Let's see what Greg has to say here. Where'd he go? Have you grown fruit trees from seed with success without pruning at all or grafting? That's a good question. Jared's got more experience than me, but we've done a lot of grafting and a lot of planting.
Yeah. I actually haven't grown anything from seed. Maybe like a couple just messing around kind of things. But as far as what I planted at my farm, I very much was wanting to know the actual variety. And, for me, like the apple trees or the stone fruit, if you plant the seed of those trees, you're not going to get the exact same tree. It's going to be maybe similar. Yeah. But it's not going to be exactly the same. So if you want a certain variety, you have to graft it. Mm-hmm. And so for my farm, I took cuttings from varieties that I wanted, and we grafted it onto rootstock, and that's how we did it. Mm-hmm. So I haven't really done. Yeah. I think it'd be really cool if you had a lot of land, and I think that's kind of what guys like Johnny Appleseed were doing back in the day. Is they would just plant out seeds, and they would let trees grow, and they would figure out. New cool varieties from that. Like, this tree is doing good, so let's take cuttings from that and continue it on.
Keep the genetics going.
And that's actually how we've gotten a lot of the varieties that we have today, is from people just growing out seeds and seeing what worked well in the area. Mm-hmm. So that is a really cool thing to do.
But it depends what you're trying to do. If you're trying to breed trees, like,
just depends.
I'll see you in like 20, 30 years and when you have your new tree variety. But but planting a seed, a tree seed, some seeds are true to they're true seeds. So like if you plant it, it'll be the exact genetic copy of the original plant. Like loquats are like that, I believe. But many are not, like apples and all the stone fruits and citrus. I don't think citrus either works. You will get a genetic variation that may or may not be good. So you might wait 5 years and find out, oh man, these lemons are horrible. They're way too acidic or something.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, so that's why I don't recommend starting from seed unless you want to play around and try to create new genetics, which is awesome. And we need new genetics we should be incorporating new genetics and new lines of trees.
Yeah, it is a cool thing to do if you had land and or that's what you're trying to do.
But yeah, pruning and grafting, it's a very, very essential skill, and you can make free trees for your whole life. So it's very important if you want to do more permanent, perennial agriculture. Okay, this is that one on animals. This is good. Jared's been raising chickens for 8-9 years too, by the way. So,
Yeah.
We know chickens. If you guys are ever looking for extra food to feed your livestock or for added matter for compost, always check the dumpster. Oh, easy. I thought you were gonna ask him a question. But what's some extra feed for livestock? You know. Extra feed, like, because since we have farms, like we're constantly producing a lot of extra vegetative matter, when we're taking out a crop and stuff. So,
yeah,
feeding those chickens, and it's such a trip. If you stop feeding your chickens greens for a week, you immediately will see it in their eggs.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
They can start getting more pale yellow.
Yeah, if they're eating greens from the farm, usually they're like dark green or dark orange.
Yeah, exactly.
Like really rich looking.
The good stuff.
Yolk.
Dino Fino says, live free and stay irie. Love it, brother. How much compost for a bed, Elijah says. Well, definitely comes down to context again. I mean,
yeah.
Like, if you go to Jared's farm, we're talking some of these beds are 6-7 years old. So, like, he's been putting compost on them every time he flipped the bed.
Mm-hmm.
For that long. So like, does he need to add more compost every flip now because like the fertility is so ridiculous? Might not need to at certain times, or for certain crops maybe, right?
Yeah, it depends on the crop, but yeah.
But when you're starting out, especially, you gotta just lay that compost on there until your fertility's there.
Yeah, for sure.
But typically, like, I don't know, on my 40-foot, 30-inch beds, I like two wheelbarrows on a 40-foot bed. For me, was plenty for each seeding or planting.
Yeah, typically on my bigger beds, like the 65-footers, it's usually like 3 to 4 wheelbarrows or so, and that usually comes out to a nice little half-inch, inch layer.
That's a good way to describe it. That's what I'm trying to put down too.
Yeah.
It's like this little half-inch where your seeds are going to go if you're direct seeding, or it's just it's like just the right amount. It doesn't need more. Yeah,
it doesn't really need more than that.
Yeah.
And you're essentially just mulching your bed with compost.
Yeah, and it's long term. It's a long term thing. It's good. There's stuff in there that they can instantly get, and then there's stuff that's going to take longer to break down. Mm-hmm. So it's like, as long as you're adding compost, there's instant stuff available and this long-term stuff available that's going to break down as microbes break it down. So
that's right.
That's why it's so beautiful. It's just it's like it's imitating like the forest a little bit. Yeah, a little bit different process than making compost, but
yeah, we're trying to feed the biology of the soil.
Yeah,
we're not feeding the plant. We're feeding the biology, which in return is what feeds the plant.
Exactly. Feed that soil. Just like us. We're not feeding our bodies, we're feeding our microbes in our gut. Without them, it doesn't get broken down correctly. So the soil is the stomach for the plant, if you want to think about it that way. Not a direct analogy, but it's a pretty good way to think about it. Seed inoculant. Oh. Like mycorrhizae stuff, or like the nitrifying bacteria you put on like legumes.
Legumes.
I'm guessing
yeah.
is what he's
That's
talking
the
about.
only inoculant that I've ever used. I haven't really done too much of that, really. I think early on with some of my cover crops and maybe some of my like green bean beds, I had inoculated those, but not too much though. I don't know. Have you?
I don't really do that, I guess, because I'm inoculating all the time with aerated compost worm teas, with green natural farming. My compost itself hopefully has some of that, mycorrhizae and stuff in there. I'm just trying to promote those relationships in the soil and have it be there naturally. But having said that, if you're planting beans and those special microbes aren't in your soil, well, guess what? They're not going to form that nitrifying relationship to fix nitrogen very efficiently. So there is something to be said about that. And one way you can test it, I believe, so after you did your bean crop and you pull your beans out and you see all those really thick kind of balls, those little nodules, those are it's a consequence of the nitrifying bacteria, is how I understand it, basically. So if you're pulling your roots out and you didn't see much of that going on, then maybe there's not much nitrification going on.
Yeah. It's not. There's no nitrogen fixing.
Really, not much is happening. Yeah. So in that case, then you see that, and then try with the inoculant, see if there's a difference, see if the plant health looks better, and all of that. I guess that's my answer on that.
Yeah.
If you can get it in the soil, that's where you want the inoculant. You just want it to be there naturally. What do you think about cover crops, and when do you seed that in? Cover crops are fantastic. I've done it at my home plot. Jared, really like Jared's technique. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
With your lasagna bed combo, that's the really cool one.
Right. Yeah. So usually when I make a bed for the first time, and I get the lasagna bed all established and built, I think ideally, if you have the time, and it all depends. Sometimes I plant a marketable crop right away, but usually I think it's more ideal if you can plant a cover crop into that bed initially. And I like to do blends, so I do usually like field peas, fava beans, oats, vetch, maybe some other kind of grain in there, maybe some rye or some buckwheat. But yeah, not just like one crop per se. It's usually like a blend. And then what was the question? When do you incorporate it?
Oh, when do you seed it?
Or when do you seed it?
When do you seed it?
Okay. Oh yeah. So yeah, at the beginning, or if you, or
go ahead. Sorry.
If you notice a bed that maybe you're trying to build fertility in an area, then that'd be a good time to cover crop it and let it grow. And then I think the important thing is just you want to cut the crop before it seeds out. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bunch of those seeds down in your beds, and essentially they kind of become weeds. They may get in the way of your later plantings. So you want to cut it and incorporate it back into the bed, probably around the flowering stage, or once it starts to bloom. Or I don't know. What do you think?
How do you incorporate it?
So I've been using a scythe, just cutting it at the ground level and letting it all fall down on itself. And that works pretty good. Sometimes you'll have to come in a week or two later and make one more cut.
So you just kind of let the bed sit there.
Yeah.
Let
it break down on itself.
Yeah.
And just kind of incorporate in.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of weeks or so, once it's broken down, I come in and I put in a layer of compost on top of that.
And then seed it.
And then plant directly into that.
Yeah. Okay.
But I've also been experimenting with, after cutting it, then putting a silage tarp on there. And let it sit for 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then that will break it down probably even better.
Speeds it up. So okay, cool.
Or you get less regrowth that way. You won't have to cut maybe a second or third time.
Kind of guarantees more that it's gonna be dead.
Yeah, right.
Okay, nice.
And then, yeah, that's kind of how
Cool.
I've been doing it.
And then you can do a fall or a spring cover crop, and then you need to kind of depends where you live, the timing of that.
Oh, hey Sharon, how's it going?
Local buyer, your food is delicious. Awesome. Duh.
Nice.
What's your favorite thing to grow? Here we go. What's your favorite thing to grow? And the best perennial for market gardening? Ooh, I like that. That's a really good question. We need more perennials in market gardening, I think. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you gonna go first, or you want me to?
No, go for it. Yeah. Favorite thing. I gotta think.
That's always a really tough one.
Yeah, that's a really tough question.
I like growing so many things. I think for me, the most special things to grow are the fruit trees, just because there's just something majestic about having trees and fruit trees in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I love growing leafy greens, and I love growing root crops and tomatoes and cucumbers. But yeah, probably I think fruit trees would probably apple or stone fruit is my favorite.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have to say perennials are my favorite thing to grow because annuals are really fun too. Don't get me wrong. Some of my favorite things would be growing greens. I love having a salad all the time, so I'm a big fan of growing my own greens. Beyond that, though, yeah, perennials are fun because you get to build a relationship with the tree or the vine, and then you get to watch it grow over a long period of time. You get to train it. You get to, improve its fruit production and all of that. And like that is so fun about it. I know you like that about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially on trees, like you get to build the shape and the structure of it, and that's like a whole art unto itself. And
yeah, it's very much an art. And every tree is different. So it's not just a cookie cutter thing you do to every tree. You have to look at a tree and study it and figure out the best way forward for it as far as the structures of the branches. Mm-hmm. It's very much an art form. Good pruning.
Yeah, super fun. Nice question. Golden beets, golden beets are everyone's favorite.
Yeah, golden beets are super good.
Those are really popular. That's definitely a good one to grow.
I've had some of those recently. I planted a bed of those. So yeah.
People are gonna be loving that.
Yeah, people are loving it. So.
Can you make a list or a video of veggies with prices that you have sold? Living life. That's a great suggestion. That's something I should do.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna be making a lot more videos about the business side of my farm and like how much money I made and things like that. In the next few months, I'm gonna have a lot more time to do stuff like that. Can you grow crops without animal manure? That's another great question. Yes, definitely. You definitely can. But it's such an amazing resource that we'd be crazy to not. We're raising billions of animals to eat them, right? So why would we not use one of the most valuable things that they create, other than their meat and their bones and all that? It's also like perfect. Like it has nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. It has the major building blocks of what plants need. And I'm a big fan of animal manure. But there's something called veganic growing. So people who are vegans who don't want to use any type of animal product, absolutely you can. You can make plant ferments, alfalfa meal and neem meal. Those are great fertilizers. If you don't want to use animals.
Yeah, I think overall, for sure you can do it without animal manure. But if you were to look at
scale, though, I don't know if you can do it without it.
Yeah, scale is an issue. But also just the profile of the compost at the end. Like if you were to look at the diversity of the microbes that are in there, I think you're going to have a more diverse, better compost if you have plant and manure in there as opposed to just plant material. Yeah. But I don't know if there's like hard science on that or.
I mean, we can just we can just look at nature to observe that is correct. I mean, just watch.
It seems so.
Watch how animals graze land, and they urinate and defecate on the ground. Other animals pick through that and spread it out. That incorporates into the ground. And then it has all the building blocks for the biology and the plants. So it's designed for it. It's set up for that system. So why would we deny using that to our advantage? But yeah, so there's a lot of ways to do a lot of things, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of different opinions and outlooks out there.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, another good question by Barefoot. This is a good common question. Do you have any issues with moles or gophers or voles or any of those type of?
Oh.
Jared definitely.
Yes.
Jared's a master.
Yes, I do.
Gopher hunter.
Yeah, I think we almost catch at least one gopher a day at my farm. We always joke about it. It'd be, if you're into sustainable meat, gophers would probably be the most sustainable meat there is, because it doesn't, no matter how many I trap, they just seem to keep coming and coming. So yeah, that's definitely probably one of my biggest issues, like pest issues, are gophers. Wow. And I have to just constantly set traps, and otherwise, they'll literally clear a whole bed over the course of a couple weeks if you just let them do their thing. I mean, they super destructive. So yeah, I definitely have them.
Yeah. So yeah, dealing with them. So I'd say like the rodents. So we're talking gophers and voles and rats and squirrels and any of those type of animals. From what I can, basically the only solution to dealing with those types of animals is to eliminate them. Either the farmer becomes the predator, or you bring in animal predators to predate on them. So whether that be snakes or feral cats, or you have, a dog or whatever it may be, like somebody, there's an overabundance of those animals in that area. We don't have the natural predator like a coyote or a hawk. We don't have enough of them to balance it. So we got to do that. And, we're doing this we're farming to make money ultimately. And it's pretty brutal when you come, I've had a pair of skunks come and tear out like couple $100 worth of my salad mix in a night or two. And it's so frustrating when that happens. Yeah. And at the end of the day,
it is part of farming.
It's part of farming. Death is a part of farming. Don't let any vegan tell you otherwise. In order for us to live, billions, trillions of organisms must die in order for the higher level organisms to live. So that's the plants, the microbes, the worms, the everything. Whether you're using a combine to harvest corn and wheat and all that, you're running over animals to do that. So no matter how you split it, you're to be alive on this planet, you must end the life of other beings, and it's a part of the balance of life. And I'll get off my soapbox a little bit, but
nature is pretty brutal.
Yeah,
and it's kind of part of the deal.
It's part of the deal. So anyways, if you're thinking about becoming a farmer, or you are a farmer, you probably have realized that this is something that's a part of it. Especially if you farm animals. Death is a big part of that, as we know. Or even if you're just raising backyard chickens, you're going to experience some death as part of that.
Yeah, definitely. Gophers are eating my coconuts. Well, I use a gopher trap. It's called the Black Hole. Yeah. I've used quite a few traps over the years, but that's the one that's really been the most successful for me. It's almost like a reverse mouse trap. It's like a little tube thing, and they crawl in there, and it just basically traps them in there, and they can't get out. But I'd look into that. It's called the Black Hole. Yeah,
that's the best trap. I agree, man.
You like that one too?
Yeah, it's so easy because you just bury it. You find the hole. You get into their tunnel. You put it in the tunnel. You leave a little bit of light coming into the tunnel. I've been putting like a little bit of fresh veg or something at the end there to try to bait them or something. I don't know if that helps, but I always catch them.
Yeah, they work pretty well.
You just got to stay on it. And anyways, enough about gophers. They suck.
On Joe Rogan.
Cool, you guys. This has been a great live stream. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Hope you guys have taken away a few things that we talked about. Food forest permaculture says nature builds soil in layers: coffee grounds, leaves, grass clippings, wood chips, kitchen waste, chop and drop, seaweed, biochar, wood ash. Nice, love it. Those are all fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. It's all good stuff.
Fantastic suggestions. Hey, Pill, how's it going? Chicken manure and coffee grounds. Great stuff. Here we go. Dino says, do either of you use neem oil? I personally don't. I don't use any type of anything. But having said that, I'm in an urban backyard where pest pressure is far diminished. It does hurt beneficials. So I'm a big believer in not messing up the pest-prey relationship cycle. If you spray neem, you're going to take out larvae of good guys. Those good guys were going to grow up and eat the bad guys, but when you kill them all at the same time, now they have to build up population again, and the bad guys, including microbes, their generations will build faster than the good guys, and sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, that's just my thought, I guess, on using pesticides and things like that. Now, is there a time to use it? Yeah, there's definitely times where you would need to use it, for sure. But for me, in my context that I've been growing in, I don't use it.
Yeah.
And that's why. But at a certain scale or a certain something happens, there's definitely arguments for using organic pesticides. And there's a lot of really good ones that you can make from nature. Look into Jadam, low-cost organic agriculture if you want some really interesting plant-derived, created, that you can make on your farm pesticides. Anyways, do you have anything to say about neem?
Yeah, I think Stephen's right. Definitely I agree. I try to stay away from spraying even organic, sprays. But if you had to use something, I think neem oil is a pretty good go-to. I don't typically use neem oil very much, except for in my holistic sprays for my fruit trees. So usually it's actually this time of year when they're dormant. I will do a little blend of usually fish hydrolysate and some seaweed, and I put neem in there, and usually some effective microbes, so like lactic acid bacteria. And really what that's for is I'm trying to snuff out any pathogens that are overwintering on the branches when the tree is bare. And I may go in and spray that again when the trees are starting to bud, but the buds haven't opened yet, and maybe again once fruit set has happened. And that's just to try to snuff out any kind of fungal or bacterial issues.
Like apple blight or the fire blight.
Yeah, like scab and stuff like that. And that's not something I came up with. I actually learned that from Michael Phillips. That's his holistic spray. I really look up to him. I think he's like a guru when it comes to, when it comes to growing fruit trees. He really knows his stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of where
his book, so The Organic Orchard or the Holistic Orchard? What's it called?
The Holistic Orchard.
The Holistic Orchard, yeah. That's if you want the best book on organically taking care of fruit trees, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Robert Rudolph says, local San Diegan here, where do you source your compost? That would be Eb Hagervost. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but...
Yeah, Eb.
Yeah.
I think the company, is it still
it's
called...
still Rudy. Yeah,
it's called Stockholper or
Fertilizer Services or something.
Yeah. I
message me. Hey, Robert, just email me, Stephen@naturesalwaysright.com, or message me on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll give you his phone number. But yeah, he's an amazing soil maker family, Dutch farming family. They've been making soil for over 50, 60 years or something.
Yeah, it's back in the 70s they started up. I think, or even maybe before that.
Oh yeah, shimmy hina. Japanese beetles are insane. I was blown away when I saw them in the south. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It's just like 1,000 of these beetles that are this big on one plant.
Whoa.
Just it looks like a locust like ate it,
Dang.
And they're like they remind me of the Borgata beetle.
Oh.
Like
Yeah.
in San Diego, we have this African invasive species called the Borgata beetle, and it's a hard shelled type insect that flies too, just like the Japanese beetle. The Japanese beetle is so far worse, but the Borgata is also a really tough one here. Where, like you said, like nothing really works on it to eliminate it.
Yeah.
Other than the pest-prey relationship, and that's why like really focusing on that biodiversity of your farm, building up your armies of the good guys is going to really help. But yeah, I mean the Japanese beetles, man, you just got to use insect netting. I have no answer for that. When I eventually move to the south, I'm probably going to get a little crash course in that.
Yeah.
But insect netting would be my go-to without having any experience. Thanks, Food Forest Permaculture. Gosh, what else? Oh, do you guys mess with BT at all? No, I personally don't. I'll concede BT and spinosad are some of the safer options, and it's Bacterius thuringus or something like that. So those are strains of bacteria that they've grown out in a lab. Through research, they found that this specific strain destroys the egg and larva stage of these soft-bodied insects, I believe. I could be maybe messing that description up a little bit, but it's a bacteria that kills the insects, okay?
Yeah.
But this bacteria, it also is going to interact with soil biology. It's also going to interact with human gut biology as well. If you know anything about glyphosate and what that does, it works on the shikimate pathway, which isn't in animals, but it's in bacteria. So I like to think of BT in that way too, of like it's altering the soil biology of my body if it enters my body, and it's altering the soil biology. I don't really care if someone tells me that it's safe. Glyphosate sure isn't safe, and they tell everybody that it's safe. And it also bothers me that they have BT, Roundup Ready corn, where this BT is genetically spliced into the seed itself, so it's like emanating BT basically, something like that. Anyways, That's why I'm against it. But it's one of the safer choices, and it dissipates. Like it's not going to stay on the plant. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it because I can see reasons to use it for certain contexts. So
yeah, I've never used it BT at all, so I can't really form it.
It works. Opinion, really. It works. If you got the cabbage moth, that white butterfly, it works wonders on those guys, and any of the cabbage moth stuff. If it's 100% neem, then it's going to be really strong neem oil. Neem is a very strong chemical, so
yeah, you're gonna have to emulsify that probably, or is that the right word?
To be able to spray it.
Yeah, if you have 100% neem, you got to break it down with some soap. I forget the process, but yeah, I think that's probably too much.
Mm-hmm. Any advice growing during the grand solar minimum? Man, I haven't looked into that enough to really talk about it, but I know what you're talking about. Like we're going into the next ice age, I think is what you're getting at. But I would think about building heat units for sure. I'd build an underground greenhouse. Basically, is probably what I'd do. That would be awesome. Fruit tree video. Just planted 8 bare roots. Oh yeah, that's right, Maurice. I saw you got all those bare roots, man. They're really cool. He just planted out his backyard.
Oh, nice.
He's already got an awesome garden, but now they just put in fruit trees. It's gonna be sweet.
And bare root, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, that's the best.
I mean, that's the most cost-effective way. So.
And best for the health, the tree long term too.
That's true. Yeah.
Because then they they're in that pot long term. They're going to start developing the taproot too soon, and the root structure is just not as good. Ramona, it's in one of your videos. Dino, yeah, that's right, up in Ramona. That's where our soil guy.
Yeah, it is Ramona. Yeah.
May you never see them in California. Thank you. Yeah, no Japanese beetles, please. I want more information about agriculture. That says Malesh. What would you like to know? What do you think of plant therapy spray? What is that? What do you mean? What is that defined as?
Plant therapy.
But yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of foliar feeding, foliar sprays, maintenance. Like in Korean natural farming, it's called a maintenance spray, maintenance solution. So definitely a fan of stuff like that. Underground greenhouse video. Yeah, we'll see, Sharon. Once I get my land, if I can get one of those cool excavators, I might be able to do some really fun stuff. So
yeah,
hopefully
cool.
I can get one someday. Cool, guys. Well, there's we'll stay around for about 5 to 10 more minutes,
Yeah.
and then we'll head out. We're gonna have some dinner, and then we're gonna brainstorm more for our upcoming February 15th workshop, the No-Till Growers Intensive that we're doing here in San Diego, California. It's all going to be done at Jared's farm, and if you want to find out more information or buy tickets, there's a link down in the description that'll take you to the page to find out more about it. But we'd love to have as many people as we can there, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, super excited about it.
Decrease in sunlight is already affecting crop production. Yeah, losing light, I don't know, man. Maybe we go to a light depot where you do supplemental lighting with LED lights to make up for lost light. There's a lot of cannabis growers that do that in the Pacific Northwest.
You could switch to crops that don't need as much light, like leafy greens, like lettuce. Cilantro seems to do all right.
Yeah,
with not a whole lot of light.
Yeah. Designing your system with capturing as much solar energy as possible. So going vertical and capturing all the layers of sunlight, the understory and the overstory and all that. Yeah. Thanks, Barefoot. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, Jan K. How many people are we expecting for the workshop? Somewhere around 60 people is what we're hoping for. I'm not sure what the current number is right now, but that's awesome that you're coming, Jamie. We're excited to see you. Did you need a fictitious? Oh, here, this is a great business question. Coughs a lot. Did you need a fictitious permit, a DBA, to sell at market? No, you don't need that to sell at market in our area. You can sell under your name, your surname. So the fictitious business name, that's really just so that you can open up a bank account in your business name and receive checks in your business name. Someone can write me a check for Nature's Always Right, and I can go cash that. If I'm just a sole proprietor without the DBA name, everything is done in your name. That's different than a corporation. What is your most profitable source of income? Well, for me, it's been farmers markets by far. That's where I sell 90% of my produce. 10% is privately sold.
Yeah, for me, it's a mix. I've been running a CSA for, I guess over 5 years now, more than that, probably 6 or 7 years. So that I think the CSA is probably a higher percentage than the farmers market for me. But this year I'm looking to expand to more markets. I think it's good to have diversity and not just rely on one thing in particular. But yeah, I'm trying to do kind of a mixture of CSA and market sales.
And I think that the bigger in scale that you get, the more market streams you need. And like Jared said, having that diversity, that backup, that wholesaler on call, that just in case or whatever, is really important.
It's powerful to have a CSA too, because you essentially have your own customer base that you can sell directly to.
It can't be taken from you. The market, let's say they could kick me out of the market for whatever. I don't know. I wouldn't do something bad, right?
And they take a percentage too.
And they take 10%. Yeah, my market, they take 10%, which is a lot. That's a lot. Most markets are nowhere near that, but
yeah. So
yeah,
it's kind of depends what you're going for.
So yeah, it depends on your farm. It depends on your local area, your markets. You got to do really good market research. Talk to friends and family. Go talk to chefs and all that. Costs a lot. You filed as a sole proprietor. Yeah, at the beginning stage of the farm, I think that's smart to do, especially small scale, especially if you're not taking on any debt or things where you have liability. It's not necessary. I still don't have my LLC because I'm waiting to move out of California before I do it because it's more advantageous to file an LLC outside of California. But yeah, incorporating, you're going to get a little bit more legal financial protection. I do recommend getting some type of crop insurance just in case, and some markets will require that. Some chefs will require that. There's an insurance company called Flip, F-L-I-P, that's designed just for what we do of small-scale farming and stuff. So I'd recommend looking into them if you want to protect yourself financially without doing LLC. Live CSA stream video. That sounds fun. Oh, Jared, do you have a YouTube channel?
No, I don't.
No, but we're gonna do more videos together. I think hopefully we'll be able to film a few videos before I leave, and when I come back to San Diego, I hope to be able to come visit Jared, and we'll do more content together. Yeah. To show whatever the new things Jared's working on.
Yeah, it'd be cool to do that. I'm not super tech savvy, but I'm sure if I spent some time with it, I could probably set that up.
Follow Jared on Instagram. I should have put it in the description, but Jared's Real Food on Instagram. He puts videos out on that about his farm and pictures all the time.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to follow me and keep up with what I'm doing is Instagram, at Jared's Real Food.
Oh, LG says, at the event, can we go over how to set up an entity for our farm business? I'd really like to learn how to legally set up everything. Cool. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, I think I definitely wanted to touch on some more business, back end sort of stuff in my presentation. So I'll try to weave that in about some legal stuff. I think that is really important, and it's something that I hate dealing with that stuff, but you got to learn about it, and so yeah, thank you for the suggestion, LG, and we're excited to see you there. So can't wait to meet you. Robert says, how often are you spreading organic fertilizer every bed flip? For me personally, yeah, I would add compost every bed flip, but like we talked about earlier, just like a 1/2 inch across the entire bed. Nothing major. If I added fertilizer, organic fertilizer, it would be a very small amount. Or usually what I just add is extra minerals in the form of rock dust or kelp meal. But once your beds are super fertile, like if you have over 10% organic matter and you get your soil test done and it's just loaded, then you may not need to. Then you probably don't need to do it every flip. So it just depends.
Yeah, it really depends. I typically do add some sort of compost after every bed I flip it, but like Steven said, it's not a guaranteed for sure thing. It depends on the crop that I grew, depends on the time of year, and it depends how much how built up your beds are. So you don't necessarily have to every time. But in general, it's good practice, I think, to just kind of mulch your bed lightly with some compost.
Cool. I'm writing down some notes for the workshop, some of the stuff you guys suggested.
Someone was asking, what's a CSA? Elijah. A CSA it stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And traditionally, it was a way for farmers to raise money in the winter or the early spring before any of the crops are ready. They would sell shares of their farm. And typically it kind of just depends on the farm, but maybe they would sell like 10 shares for a certain amount of money. And then in the summertime, when the crops are ready, each week they would pay back the shares. And so, as someone who's involved in the CSA, you would get a box of produce, whatever's ready at the farm, each week for a certain amount of year or a certain amount of time during the harvest season. But my CSA is not based on the traditional model. It's more I just work with people week to week. And because my farm, being in San Diego, I'm always growing something. I usually always have something coming out of the ground. And so I just call it a CSA bag, but it's basically just a bag of 7 to 8 different produce items that I offer my customers every week. And families like to buy that because it's a nice mix and it's a good amount of food. But I also offer just individual too. Like I allow people to customize the CSA bag or just buy individual items. So I try to be flexible. The original CSA model is kind of rigid.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of adapted and changed it slightly, I would say.
Yeah, I like your model better.
Yeah.
The CSA is a little weird because, like, the original CSA model, because you ask for money up front, and let's say you have a huge crop failure, that's on the customer. Now the customer loses they don't get their money back. They don't get their vegetables if you fail. So it's a way to support the farmer so that like it's guaranteed. So no matter what, they're definitely going to get that money, and it's a way of supporting local agriculture, I guess. So it's only for the right type of customer, I guess, that's really dedicated to supporting the local farmer. I just don't like it. It feels like it's you're subsidizing your farming. Like I'm making my fail. Like it's my business and my farm. My farm failed, and now I'm putting that on my customer. To me, that's not right as a business owner. That's why I don't like that model, and I really like your model of customization. And I think today's customer really wants flexibility.
Yeah.
So I think it makes more sense. Like weekly veggie box, order when you want, and you're not locked into something. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's my thought on it. But
people like options. They don't want to just be, given a box. And I mean, some people are totally fine with that, but I think in general, if you're trying to have a good retention rate on your CSA program, you got to try to be flexible with your customers and provide what they want.
Yeah.
So
long term. I mean, those are like you want. Some of these people are like family almost. You told me,
Yeah,
So
they're straight up like my family.
Yeah.
They've been supporting me for years. So yeah, they're some of my best customers are through the CSA.
Yeah, like you can be just as supportive of local agriculture and dedicated to your farmer, without having this upfront risk. Anyway, it's a weird CSA thing. Robert Rudolph says, no compost of chicken manure. Well, the compost I make is chicken manure based. The compost that we buy from the local source is cow and what?
It's
sorry, I forgot. Rabbit?
The stuff that I get from Ebb is a chicken and rabbit manure.
Oh, chicken and rabbit.
Yeah, it's like a blend of the two.
So yeah, all of our composting systems are animal based.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we'll do a couple more questions, and then we're getting hungry, so we're gonna go eat some dinner. But we hope you guys have really enjoyed the stream. Jared, how did you start up your CSA, and how did marketing work when you first started?
Oh, that's a good question. I literally just all the customers that I had at that time. It was like a year or two into starting the farm. I didn't start the CSA right away. But anyone that was interested, I told like, hey, I'm going to try to start doing CSA bags each week, and just had that as an option for people. And started offering home deliveries. And people were into that because, they're busy. They didn't want to come to the farm. And so, yeah, I think what was really helpful in getting the CSA going was having some kind of email newsletter service. I use MailChimp, but it was a really good way I basically got everyone's email that was interested. I put it into there, and then each week I would email out the list of what I'm planning on putting into the CSA bag. And then if anybody was interested in it, they would just reply to that email, tell me what they wanted, and I'd go from there. Just harvest it on the harvest day, and then go deliver it to them.
Yeah.
It's like pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of an old school business model, just really word of mouth.
Yeah. I never marketed it at all.
Yeah.
It's all been word of mouth.
Yeah.
Just customers that are stoked on it. They tell their
It's
friends.
really cool.
They tell their family, and it just keeps growing from there. If you're growing good produce,
right,
people are going to start talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love it. I love it too because like in this day and age where everyone you got to be on the internet to get business. Like Jared built his whole business like the more traditional model. So like you can do like it just goes to show you there's not one way to do it. There's a lot of ways to be successful. And you can do a combination of them. And so it's
like
awesome.
I got on Instagram like
a
year ago. Like I wasn't even on there. So
I love it.
Yeah,
got a hermit farmer over here. Got to get him online.
That's right.
Let's see here. Broken heritage for pest control. We did kind of talk about that just real quickly. Soil health. The better the soil health, the plants will be able to defend themselves against pests and disease. Also having the most biodiversity that you can to support a pest-prey natural relationship in your little micro ecosystem of your garden. Jared, are you using tunnels or greenhouses? Or low tunnels?
I don't have a greenhouse. Basically what I do is I just put up small hoops over each individual bed, and depending on the time of year, I'll either put Agribon over that for frost protection, or during the summer I switch it and I put shade cloth over the beds. So.
Growing back to Eden. What's going on, dude? Sorry you missed it. We're right at the end, but glad you caught it at the end. Hope you had a good dinner. This is my favorite question to answer, Dina. Do either of you have a degree in agriculture or farming? Absolutely not.
No.
And I would never, ever recommend anyone go to school for agriculture unless you want to get into tractor, chemical, debt-based agriculture. Like that's what they're going to teach you. I have seen real recently though, like I think UC Santa Cruz, they're starting to incorporate some regenerative agriculture and urban agriculture, no-till stuff in their curriculums now. I think even one school has a degree in like more of this style of farming. So it's starting to happen. The university system's like 10, 20 years behind the real business world. So I'm really against the university system nowadays. I mean, we both went to university, but honestly, we're both self-taught. So we read a lot of books, we watched a lot of videos, we've listened to a lot of things, we've done a lot of, and then number one is our experience, just 24/7 growing food, which you can in San Diego. We're lucky enough to be able to grow year round.
Yeah, all the time. And talking with farmers too, like having certain mentors.
Yeah,
that were more organic or holistic minded. I don't think you necessarily need to go to school to really figure it out.
Yeah. I think you're wasting your money. Like the 5 best market gardeners in the world have their own online course that they're constantly adding things to, and it's like $1,000 or a couple $100 a month or $2,000, and the amount of information that you're going to get from them, it's so beyond anything that you're going to get in 4 years of a university brainwashing education. So they're not going to teach you about soil health. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
So
that being said, we both did go to college. We both have degrees.
Yeah.
So we kind of have seen both sides of that.
Yeah.
But I studied business. I didn't study agriculture in school. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't believe. I think the whole university system in general doesn't make sense anymore. Like, it's not up to date, accurate information. It's all top down too. Like most of my professors in school, they hadn't even worked in the field, or they worked in the field for 3 years, and then they're professor the rest of their life. Like, what is that person going to teach you about running a business in that field? I mean, they can't.
Yeah.
Anyways. learn from people that are successful. I guess that's read books of people that are successful in your field. Like that's what's going to give you the knowledge you need to be successful in your field. You know, this piece of paper, like, that doesn't matter. I'd rather hire somebody with, like, even if they didn't have a high school diploma or a GED, I wouldn't even care. Are you ethical? Do you work hard? Are you intelligent? Can you be trained and learn and, you know, all that?
Yeah.
Be a good team member, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
For sure.
So, anyways. No, we're just, so both of us, just what we do, we read and we learn from the best teachers, and then we just extract the elements that we like for our farming systems, and we adapt it to that.
Yeah.
Would you agree? I mean,
yeah, definitely.
we're not like, I'm not a Back to Eden grower. I'm not a Curtis Stone market grower. I'm not a JM style farm. Like I take what is the best from each system, and then and use that.
Yeah, that's what I've done too. Trying to keep an open mind to all holistic growing methods and just figuring out what works best for my context, for my area, for my farm. Every farm's unique, so you kind of have to figure out what works for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the live stream. If you want to go really in depth, like we're doing with you right now, come to our February 15th workshop here in San Diego, California. We will be at Jared's farm literally all day long, and then we'll be going out for dinner as a big group together to continue hanging out, networking, talking shop, and all that. And yeah, this thing is gonna be really value packed. If you're starting a farm or you're farming, you know, we want to give you as many tools, as many tips, as like everything we can to help you be more successful. So hope to see you guys there. Thanks for watching the stream, everybody. It was super fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening, guys. Like Steven said, I'm stoked to have you guys come out for the event. We're going to be putting our heart into it, putting as much value into it as we possibly can. And I'm excited to have everyone come out to the farm, and it's an honor to be hosting it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. And hanging out with the no-till grower guys. That'll be fun. All right, everybody, yeah, check out the links down in the description for more info, to watch Jared's tour video, to buy tickets for our event, all that good stuff. Thanks for supporting my channel and the mission of getting more people to grow food naturally. See you guys in the next video. Bye.
All right, see you guys.